Welcome back to AndyTube. Today I'm going to demonstrate the incredible Singer 301A, the first slant needle sewing machine made by Singer. It's got a direct drive motor that's enclosed inside. It has all steel gearing. It has a vertical bobbin. The body and the head is all made from cast aluminum, and all the shafts and gears and levers, everything is metal, steel. It was the only machine Singer ever made that was portable. It can be lifted right up. It weighs 16 pounds compared to the Singer Featherweight, which weighed 11. But you can also put it in a table or a cabinet because they made a special cradle for it. This cradle is what attaches to the drop hinges in the table, and the cradle is permanently installed in the cabinet, and then the machine is set in and snapped down and locked in. So when it came time to move it, you would unlock it, lift it out, and you could put it in the case that they made for it. It's kind of a trapezoid case. They never made that kind of system again. This was a very revolutionary machine. It came out in the early 50s. They started advertising it in 1952. At the very beginning of the 1950s, they built a new factory in Andersonville, South Carolina, to make all the new slant needle. And what we mean by a slant needle is that the front of this comes at a slant instead of straight down. So this moved the needle penetration, the sewing area. It moved it forward about 1.25 inches, so that when you're facing it and you're sewing, you could see what you were sewing much more clear because it's at an angle. It has a numbered thread tension. You can set the upper tension on it. It has a adjustable pressure foot pressure bar. It's on a spring loaded, and you can set the pressure on it more or less depending on the thickness or delicacy of your fabric. It has a swing open front needle cover, so it's very easy to get in there and dust and oil and clean everything. It has a calibrated stitch length lever that you just easily move up and down based on the stitches per inch, from about 6 to about 30 for very fine. Above here, that's the reverse. When you want to go into reverse, you just flip it up. Go forward, flip it down to your stitch length. It has this, what they call kind of stowable bobbin winder. When you want to wind the bobbin, I'll show you in a minute, you flip it up here against the hand wheel, and the bobbin tire rubs here. It's got an automatic stop, so when the bobbin gets full, if you want to have it full, it will push itself away and stop. It has its own spool pin and its own tension system to wind the bobbin real evenly. It's a little spring-loaded tension. And the spool pins, instead of solid steel or the later plastic, are real heavy gauge wire. So since it was portable, if you move it around and you bump this or anything, it'll bend, but it won't break. And the main spool holder is the same way, back here. It's got a built-in light with a focusing lens to light up your work area. It's got a glass cover to it. Take these two screws out, you can unscrew the bulb, replace it. Still cast aluminum. On the end here, you got your plug, power plug. Just plugs right in. And like that. And the clutch release is a very nice chrome plated piece here where you would hold the outer wheel, turn the clutch wheel left a quarter turn, and that releases the clutch, so when you wind the bobbin, your feed dogs and your needle and bobbin and hook aren't spinning around. Only the wheel will turn then. Let's give it a wheel here. So you can wind the bobbin. When you put your bobbin on here, then you flip the tire up as you wind. Oops, started to slip a little on the clutch, it'll go so fast. Anyway, when you want to sew, you just hold the wheel and turn the clutch wheel, lock it back to the right. So it's about a quarter turn unlock, quarter turn lock. So that's pretty much the basics of it. You can kind of see the back side here. It's got their beautiful enamel paint. Got new felts on it, new rubber feet on the bottom. So let's, well, I'll show you real quick. I mean, if you wanted to wind the bobbin, you would just put your thread on here, and you would pass it behind that little disc right there. And then you would take it and put it through any hole from the inside out. So you'd have the thread coming out here. You'd snap it on. You'd put it up against the wheel, turn the clutch. You'd hold on to the little thread and wind the bobbin. And eventually that thread will break off, or once it's wound a few times, you could cut the tail off. When you're finished winding it, just bring it down, pop it off, and you can store this. There is an oil port there, so you can keep it running smooth. That's how to wind the bobbin. Let's go ahead and put the bobbin in here. While we're down here, you can see the hook back here. This little knob, if you turn it to the left several times, will lower the feed dogs. So if you want to embroider or do some darning, you just turn this knob left, and it will start lowering that feed dog down. And you can lower it down far enough where it won't reach your fabric at all. So that's what that's steel also. That's what your big knob is. I'll show you the bobbin case. There it is. Now this is the same kind of setup as they have on the 301 or the 221K, the little featherweight. And it takes the same bobbin as the 221 featherweight. So I can get this up in the light here. I'm going to put this in. You're looking at it. You want the thread coming off the left side. and you'll drop that bobbin in there, hold it with your thumb. You'll see a little slot right there that lets you get the thread behind the tension spring, and then there's a big horizontal hole where it comes out. So that's how the bobbin will work. And to put it back in there, we're going to, I like to use that. You can just hold it. I like to move the lever out. And you're just going to put it right on the post and push it in there. Sometimes you can wiggle the handle to make sure you got it locked in there. And then you just want to leave, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches hanging off like that, and you're good to go. Then to thread it, we'll put our thread up here on the spool pin, and we'll go to the back hook. Let's see if we can get a little more light there. Come through the V-guard here. You see the recessed area for it. So we're going to come down here, and you want this thread to go between the 2 tension discs. Let's see if we can get a little light and I can see where the discs are there. Come on, you get between that disc. There we go. And I pull off about this much, and I put the presser foot back down, so now there's, whoops, see that? I missed the disc. It's too loose. So let's bring the pressure foot up. That releases the tension. Let's see, why is that? Sorry guys, I can't see it well enough here to make sure I'm getting behind the, let's see if I got that now. Put the pressure down. Nope. Alright. There we go. Now I know I'm between the discs because I have tension. Pressure foot up, release the tension, pressure foot down, do it. The reason I want the pressure on there now is because I have to come up over the check spring and get the thread behind that little hook right there. Right there. So now we've got that all properly through the tension, through the discs, and it's going to ride on the check spring. So we'll come back through the thread guard here, and we're going to come up, and we will thread the uptake lever like that. Get this behind there. So we've got our check spring going. Then you have a faceplate thread guide right there. Then you have a top needle bar thread guide right there. The bottom needle guard, or needle bar thread guide right there. And there's one more little guy right down here at the base of the needle clamp. These all go left to right. So they really have that just lined up perfectly straight and right into the needle. Now, the bottom horizontal shaft comes right here, and there's no gears like in other models where you've got a gear like that and a gear like this to run the hook. The hook's right on the end of that shaft, so it's a very powerful direct system. So we're going to thread this right to left because we want the thread facing the hook. Now let's get my needle up here where I can see it. And I'll start trying to thread this. Come back in an hour and see if I accomplished it. I should learn to sing or something so you're not bored while I'm trying to do this. Oh, I think I might have got it. Oh, I did. Okay. There we go. So right to left. So the little thread loop will face the hook that's down here. Alright. Then to bring up our bobbin thread, you just hold this firmly. Turn the wheel towards you once or twice and see if you can pull up that thread. There it comes. So there's our bobbin thread. And we'll lift the foot. We'll put all the thread between the toes of the foot and lead it off to the right, because I sew on the left. So you've got your bobbin wound up and put in the bobbin case. Oh, and the flat side of the needle goes to the left when you put it in. That's the only way. If you try and put it in different, it won't go in. So we just do some light sewing here, just a little paper napkin. And I'm going to kind of loosen this tension. If you have a light, delicate fabric, you don't want the pressure so hard that it hurts the fabric against the metal feed dogs that are grabbing it through. So you just loosen the tension a little. I'll put it about, I don't know, 8 stitches a minute or so. And we'll hold on to this and get it in here, and I'll just start sewing. There we go. Well, let's take a look at this. Now it has a thread cutter back here. It's supposed to drag down against that and cut the thread. I don't know. It doesn't seem too sharp to me, so maybe that's worn out. Maybe I'm not doing it right. I'll just cut this off, put that back there for next time. Let's inspect our stitch there. The top tension looks good. Bottom tension looks good. Looks like a nice even stitch. No skipping or anything. So that went well. Let's take a little heavier fabric here. You can see what type of fabric this is. Hold it up into the light maybe so you can see. Okay. So we'll take a nice long piece of this and we'll get it in here, drop the foot. In the service manual, owner's manual, operator's manual, it says to start sewing with your take-up lever in the up position. So I'm going to do that. I always hold the threads when I first start. So let's give it a whirl here. So that's no problem. Let's go to a little finer stitch. Let's double it up around 15 maybe. I think that's why the quilters love this machine. Let's take a look at the back side of this, make sure that our stitch is still good. It's a little bit light on the pressure bar. I think I'll just snug that up just a little bit. I'm going to go up to about as fine a stitch as I can. up close to 30 stitches per inch. You get into that range, it's hard to tell where one stitch stops and the other begins. Let's see. They look like polka dots. Look at that. I don't know if I can go any finer. You get to a point where you're headed towards reverse and it just won't pull the fabric through. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit finer. Let's drop it down to a 6. Make a bigger stitch. And I'm going to show you, you can reverse on the fly. At any time you want, you can throw this lever up. So I'll just sew some more and go reverse, forward. There we go. Pull that needle up. Let's take a look at this. Where's the best lighting for that? Is that any good? Okay. So we started out, I think, at about 8 stitches per inch. Makes a pretty top stitch. And we got down a little tighter into the 15 stitches per inch range. You still have a good tension, good balanced stitch, pretty lock stitch. And we got down here into the almost 30. Look at those little tiny fine stitches. Can you even see them there? There you go. Whew. And then even a little bit finer. I think that's close to about as fine as you're going to get, unless you went with a smaller needle and a finer thread. Then we went up here to the big stitch and the reverse. Reverse on the fly. You can see this longer stitch there. See if I put it over here. You're kind of throwing a shadow on it with your hand there. Is that any better? You're making your own shadow. Look at the back. Still good. Okay. We get some heavier fabric here now. This upholstery fabric. Let's take a look at that. It's kind of crumpled, but I think it'll do for a demo. And by the way, look how thick this is here. You can get, it's got a good amount of room for putting thick material under here. Let's drop this down. Whoops. Let me get this tailed off the back here, between the toes. There we go. Let's get this. Drop it down. This is up at the top where they say to start, up here. And we'll go with that longer stitch. Let's see how it does on this fabric. No problem. See how the back, still a nice balanced stitch there. So let's see if we can sew 4 layers of this instead of 2. So I'll just take this end here. Well, let me do this end. So we've got 2 layers. I'll fold it over here and we'll go to 4 layers. something like this. Easily fits under there. Drop it down, get our take-up lever up at the top like they recommend. Get this laid out a little better, and we'll go for 4 layers of this fabric. All right. It's still no problem. Still has a beautiful even stitch. Alright, so we got 2, 4, 4 and 4 is 8. Let's try 8. We'll just keep doubling it. I don't know if it'll do 8, but we'll see. I'm not sure why you'd want to do 8. Get my needle up. Whoops. Whoop. Come on, needle thread. Oh, I think that was a mistake, huh? Yep. I think I got it tangled up in there now. There we go. Whew. Alright. Let's see. Let me go back to 8. Alright. You can still get it under there pretty easy. Drop this down. I think I'm going to put a little more pressure on that foot so to be sure it'll... I mean, it's not a walking foot. That's just the straight stitch foot. Put this up. Alright, let's see what happens here. Well, there's 8 layers of upholster. Still looks good. You still got a good balanced stitch, and I didn't even change the tension or anything. Wow, that's nice. 8 layers. All right. Well, if you've seen my other videos, you saw the 404 sewing through leather, and I've sewn leather with the 404. I've never tried it with the 303, but let's get some here and put it in here and see if it'll go. Now, if I was really going to do a project with this, I'd probably put a roller foot on instead of the straight stitch foot, but I'll crank down the tension a little more to be sure it pulls that leather through. We got to go a little slower because the needle coming up is a lot thicker, so we got to give it time to pull that leather through. But let's see what happens here. Matter of fact, usually with leather I bring it down and penetrate the first stitch, so let's try it.